Breaking right now, the U.S. military launching airstrikes over Tikrit after Iraqi officials requested air support to help fight off Islamic State fighters. Hello everyone, I'm Dan Kleffler in New York. I want to go to the Pentagon now, where ABC's Louis Martinez is standing by with the latest on this breaking story. And Louis, what do we know about these airstrikes?
Dan, we know that these airstrikes have just begun over near the city of Tikrit. This is the city in northern Iraq that the Iraqi military has been trying to seize back from ISIS, which took it over last summer. This is seen as a prelude to a potentially major offensive for Mosul, which is seen as the big fight against ISIS. But so far, this offensive in Tikrit is just totally stalled. For the last 2 weeks, a very large force of Iraqi military and Shiite militias has encircled the city, but they have yet to go in. I think we're hearing that is because the ISIS fighters inside the city have mounted a strong defense. It's going to be a strong urban fight if they do go inside. And one of the hesitations for the U.S. has been that the Iraqis did not notify the U.S. about this offensive ahead of time, which it's been supported by Iranian advisors. So there's been some hesitation in helping them out. And right from the get-go, the Iraqis said they did not need U.S. airstrikes. And now there's a total reversal. The Iraqi Prime Minister Abadi coming out and making a televised address to the nation where he spoke about the final push into Tikrit and that he has requested U.S. assistance.
So then is Iraq leading this offensive against in Tikrit?
Well, this is an Iraqi military operation, which means that it's supported by the government of Iraq. But the important thing here is that the majority of the forces that are surrounding Tikrit are actually Shiite militias that are trained and backed by Iran. And we know that a senior Iranian general has been inside Iraq for the last year or so, and he has been at the forefront of this operation. So this was actually an operation that was planned and led by the Iranian advisors on the ground there inside Iraq. Very little consultation with the United States about the planning for it, for any request for assistance, and so it kind of just occurred. It's a very large force. We're talking about 23,000 troops, Dan, but 18,000 of them are from Shiite militias, so an overwhelming majority of non-military forces involved in this. And even though they were very optimistic at the get-go that they were going to be inside Tikrit within a couple of days, it's been 3 weeks now and 2 weeks that they've installed outside the city.
So then what's the response then as far as the hope that Iraq might be able to stand on its own as far as its military capabilities, and now with U.S. assistance in these airstrikes taking place?
Well, Dan, this whole U.S. effort inside Iraq has been geared towards retraining the Iraqi military, making sure that their operability is back to where it used to be before the sectarian divide of a couple of years ago. One of the reasons why ISIS was able to easily take over Mosul last summer was because Sunni troops just ran away, because inside Mosul they ran away because they had no confidence in their government, which was Shiite-led. So now the American military forces have been there now since last summer. They've been providing assistance. That training program has begun. And yet what happened here was that the Iraqis have also sought assistance from the Iranians. And it was the Iranians who planned this offensive on Tikrit. And it just does not bode well for the future offensive against Mosul, which is much, much larger. It's going to require many more forces, a lot of coordination between the United States and the coalition. And if you've got an offensive in the city of Tikrit that has been stalled for 2 weeks, and which they were so optimistic about, where they kind of said, we can do this on our own, and that's why we're not going to require U.S. or coalition assistance, and then it stalls, it just doesn't bode well for any future offensives, particularly in Mosul. Now let's talk about that Mosul offensive. Remember, there was that controversy about an American official talking about, we think that this offensive against Mosul could start as early as March or April. This was back in February. People were up in arms saying, why are we talking about operational details like that? Well, it was seen as a push, I think, to spur the Iraqis along into an offensive, to make sure that they were ready. Well, I think this push into Tikrit right now kind of indicates that they weren't ready because of the majority of forces in this offensive weren't even Iraqi military, but were Shiite militias, and they were kind of disorganized and just couldn't take on what are believed to be, this is the remarkable numbers, several hundred ISIS fighters inside a city that's surrounded by 23,000 Iraqi forces. So General Dempsey here, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, has said it's inevitable that it's going to take place. It's going to be that the Iraqis are going to dominate and take over Tikrit, but it's just unclear how long, and it's just not a good indicator for future operations.
And now with U.S. military airstrikes underway in Tikrit.
لا هذا مو هون، هاي قاذفه يا ولد، يرمي صواريخ قاذفه الله يخليك.